Hello, welcome to the news at 10 on Nta News24. We're live in Abuja. I'm Comfort Amadu. Good to have you join us. Now, the headlines. Nigeria aims at diplomatic end to Israel-Palestinian crisis.
Whatever the reasons are, he thinks that both countries need to de-escalate. They must come back to the negotiating table so that at least for the, let's have some peaceful resolution.
Communities in neighboring state denounce female genital mutilation. National Drug Law Enforcement Agency smashes cross-border drug trafficking syndicates. We begin with Nigerians' effort to end the crisis between Israel and Palestinian crisis, as President Bola Tinubu is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, apart from to improve economic ties between Nigeria and the country. And now, State House correspondent Musba Dan Wahab, were joining him, who spoke with the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, in Arabia on expectations from the meeting.
Nigeria is a very important country, not just in Africa, but on the global stage. Recall that Nigeria is the biggest black nation on earth, and we have a very close proximity with the Middle East. And Nigeria has had a very long-standing relationship with not just countries around the world, but also the Middle East. Now, recall that last year, as you said, precisely on the 11th of November 2023, the president was here at Africa Saudi Summit, which also had the Africa Arab Summit. The issue of Palestine, then very fresh. The conflict between the Palestine and Israel was very fresh. Nigeria participated. And in that summit, it was agreed that there must be a de-escalation of the conflict and return to the diplomatic table. Now, 1 year down the line, we have seen the kind of thing that has happened. In Israel and in Palestine, we have seen the kind of loss of lives and destruction of property that everyone around the globe is talking about. And so when this summit was muted and Nigeria was invited, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, consistent with his thinking about being very humane. He is a very, very humane leader. He looks at the issue of humanity very seriously. Whatever the reasons are, he thinks that both countries need to de-escalate. They must come back to the negotiating table so that at least for the, let's have some peaceful resolution. Whatever is the case, this conflict can never end on the war front. We must come to find a diplomatic solution. And this is exactly what we are seeking here.
And back home in Nigeria, the presidency has advised the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to deploy his energy and skills into playing the role of a statesman after his popularity was put to test for 6 times in the race for the presidency of Nigeria. In a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the presidency says former vice president lacks contemporary knowledge about national and global economies and gullible to fallacies which are delusional and hypocritical. The statement added that Atiku is still battling with the shock of defeat when he should brace up in joining hands with the Tinubu's administration, which is running a reformed agenda that is promising and has proven to provide a gradual and permanent solution to Nigeria's economic challenges in both oil and non-oil sector. and stop being blind to some of the major strides achieved. Bayo Onanuga says the 5.4 trillion naira recovered from the subsidy removal is being channeled into meeting critical developmental needs and assured that reforms to activate the 4 refineries, support modular and Dangote refineries is in top gear, while workers' welfare is also receiving a boost, as seen from the implementation of a new national wage. He urged the former vice president to hide his head in shame following series of corruption charges against him and his family and allow the president to focus on the task of reconstructing the economy his party, the PDP, destroyed for more than a decade. A German ambassador to Nigeria has called for an increased focus on vocational training and skill acquisition as critical components to strengthening Nigerians' economy. The German ambassador, who spoke on improving economic ties with Nigeria, emphasized that Nigeria has strong track record in vocational education, which could serve as a model for Nigeria that will enable the country build a more diversified and skilled workforce.
Particularly vocational training, skills development. That is an area where we are very much engaged, both for Nigerians who want to find their jobs here, but also for Nigerians who might want to go and work in Germany. And also, the growth of the economy is very important for the well-being of the population, for the improvement of the socio-economic situation of all Nigerians. But this growing economy also needs skills, needs trained workforce. So I think this is where we can come in. Germany has a very good experience in vocational training, and we're doing already a lot. There is more potential to do that. There are German companies who are already involved in our programs of vocational training, but this is, I think, where we can really make a difference.
Nigeria and Germany historically have strong trade relations, with Germany being one of Nigeria's largest trading partners in the European Union. The main exports from Nigeria to Germany include oil, gas, and agricultural products, while Germany exports machinery, vehicles, chemicals, and industrial goods to Nigeria.
Visit last year, and His Excellency President Tinubu's visit to Germany, where he visited also a big business conference. I think since then we have seen a very strong increase in German companies' interest in Nigeria. We get many requests. We have many companies here, about 90 to 100, who are mostly trading. Some are also producing. I always like to use the example of Nivea.
German companies already active in Nigeria. There's significant potential for further collaboration in this area to foster economic growth and reduce unemployment. The White House Advisory Council is working out modalities to make it easier for diaspora members to go beyond individual remittances and participate in pooled investments, partner with local entrepreneurs, support small and medium-sized enterprises, and invest in larger development projects that will foster sustainable economic growth in Nigeria. Executive Director, President Joe Biden's Advisory Council on African Diaspora Engagement, Laurent Mante, stated this at the plenary presentation at the close of the 7th Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit in Abuja. Deborah Balagbubu reports.
Executive Director of President Joe Biden's Advisory Council on Africa Diaspora Engagement, Laurent Mantle, says the summit aligns with its mission to bridge gaps in communities, create pathways for investment, and amplify the influence of Africa diaspora while commending NIDCAM for a successful summit. She reaffirms PAC-8's commitment to building robust platform and partnership that enhance the diaspora impact.
The African diaspora is one of the most dynamic, innovative, and committed communities within the United States. This community continues to contribute to the United States through entrepreneurship, education, healthcare, culture, and public service.
So we're glad with the initiatives of the American and African Diaspora Council under this administration, and we look forward to working with the council and thank the U.S. government. We want to work with you. We want to build this country together. We want to ensure that, you know what, Nigerians at home work with Nigerians in the diaspora to build this great country of ours.
NIDCOM boss reaffirms the Commission's dedication to creating partnership that leverages on resources, skills, and aspirations of diaspora for Nigerians' advancement. She further expressed hope for ongoing collaboration that will build economic resilience and create job opportunities across Nigeria. The 7th NDIS, which lasted 3 days, had as its theme adapting stability through diaspora investment, navigating the path of prosperity. In Abuja, Deborah Balagbobo, NTA News.
Minister of Trade and Investment Jumoke Oduwole says the government of Nigeria is dedicated to enhancing digital infrastructure across all state parties, while emphasizing the importance of robust personal data protection. Provisions to foster trust and prevent cybercrimes and fraud. This was at the 15th meeting of the African Continental Free Trade Area in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Jumoke says Nigeria acknowledges the significant strides made with the Protocol on Digital Trade, which offers pragmatic rules designed to drive digital transformation across the continent, that the protocol is set to bolster the growth and utilization of African digital platforms and computing facilities by African-owned small and medium enterprises within state parties. The minister believes that the seamless operationalization of the new protocol will serve as a catalyst for economic development by increasing trade, creating jobs, and reducing poverty, as well as optimizing the industrial structure of the continent. News at 10 is live on Nta News24. More stories ahead. Stay tuned. Federal government signs deal for aircraft maintenance facilities as Central Bank of Nigeria says oil imports crashed by 35% in the second quarter. Tokwe Alabi reports on these and other developments in the business space.
The federal government, through the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development, has entered into a public-private partnership arrangement with a private firm to establish a maintenance, repair and overhaul facility for aircraft. The new facility would operate as an approved maintenance organization, AMO, under the regulation of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. AMO, approved by the NCAA, is meant to perform specific aircraft maintenance activities, which may include the inspection, overhaul, maintenance, repair and or alteration and release to service of aircraft and aeronautical products.
Following through. You see, in Nigeria, the policies are always there on paper, but the political will to follow through has been the problem. In Festus Keyamo and Captain Chris Najomo, we do not have that problem.
The facility, the first of its kind in Nigeria, aims to meet growing maintenance needs for aircraft operating within the country, which currently often require expensive and time-consuming trips to foreign maintenance centers. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, had in August revealed that he had concluded plans to initiate the bidding process for the establishment of maintenance, repair and overhaul facilities in the country. According to the minister, the move was part of the government's effort to enhance the country's aviation infrastructure and reduce reliance on foreign MRO services. In the meantime, Nigeria's oil imports dropped by 35% in the second quarter of 2024, amounting to $2.79 billion, down from $4.31 billion in the previous quarter. This is according to the quarterly economic report of the Central Bank of Nigeria for the second quarter of 2024. This reduction highlights shifting dynamics in the nation's oil and gas sector amid ongoing structural and economic adjustments following the removal of fuel subsidies. The report also noted that the overall value of merchandise imports also contracted, falling by 20.59% to $8.64 billion from $10.88 billion recorded in first quarter of 2024. Persistent challenges such as oil theft and vandalism in the Niger Delta, experts say, remain major impediments to production stability. With Business News, Tokwe Alabi.
The spate of vandalism on power infrastructure in the country continues as the transmission line along Lokoja Gwagwalada has been pulled down. A statement by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, states that 3 towers along Line 1 have been vandalized, disrupting bulk power transmission along the route. The vandals also stole 2 spans of aluminium conductor from the Line 1, though a double-circuit line. TCN assures that it is still supplying bulk power through Line 2, while efforts are underway to replace the aluminium conductors for the 2 spans stolen from the Line 1. TCN describes the rising trend of vandalism on transmission lines and towers as threats to the country's power infrastructure and hindering the expansion and stability of the national grid, as it again appealed to communities hosting transmission lines and towers to collaborate with its security and operatives to combat the menace. After months of intelligence gathering and painstaking surveillance, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have smashed 2 major cross-border drug trafficking syndicates with cocaine and opioids worth billions of naira recovered from them, while 6 leaders of the cartels were arrested in different parts of the country. More on this with Salwa Ibrahim.
It was the end of the road for leaders of the syndicate, known as notorious for their cross-border activities. They were arrested at different locations across the country in possession of different types of psychoactive substances, including cocaine and tramadol, concealed in vehicle parts. Meanwhile, NDLEA operatives in Apapa Seaport, Lagos, on Wednesday, 6 November, intercepted 31,750,000 pills of Voltron, a controlled opioid packaged and concealed in a container imported from India as diclofenac tablets. At the Murtala Mohammed International Airport import shed Ikeja, Lagos, NDLEA officers intercepted a 700 grams consignment of loud. A software engineer who showed up to collect the package was promptly arrested, and a follow-up search of his home in Lekki led to the recovery of some drug paraphernalia, including cannabis crusher. In Abuja, NDLEA operatives in the Federal Capital Territory on Thursday, 7th November, intercepted a truck along Abadi-Ukwali Road with 755.50 kilograms cannabis concealed under empty cartons of noodles. Discoveries and arrests were also made in Kaduna, Kano, Edo, Plateau, Kwara and Ondo State during the week under review. These include war against drug abuse advocacies across the country. In Abuja, Salwa Khalil Ibrahim, Nta News.
The air component of Operation Fansan Yamma has initiated a series of intense independent air missions to support the armed forces of Nigeria's renewed drive to eliminate all forms of criminality in the northwestern region. This focused campaign of air interdiction, nicknamed Operation Faratour Mujia, started with series of high-impact night operations deep within the stakeholders of notorious bandits across Zamfara and Kebbi states. A statement by Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Olushola Akimboyewa, indicates that the first wave of strikes was launched following confirmed intelligence about increased terrorist activities in areas identified as strongholds of notorious bandits, warlords who had long terrorized local communities, using advanced surveillance and precision, targeting NAF assets, executed a surprise aerial assault on multiple camps, including strategic Sangeko location in Zamfara State, near the Kebbi border, and Ado Alero's heavily fortified enclave around Ashola Hill in Safi local government area. That's in Safi local government area. Intelligence reports and battle damage assessment confirm the overwhelming impact of the strikes, with several kidnapped victims escaping amidst the chaos, making their way to safety in Kebbi State. More updates on Operation Faratour Mujia will come in the days ahead. Livestock farmers are beginning to witness a new dawn as the new Minister of Livestock Development, Idi Mokhtar Maiha, has hit the ground running with community engagement to chart a new course for modern animal husbandry. Mohammed Umar Ajinge reports.
These communities have every reason to roll out drums to give a man they consider one of their own a rousing welcome, to rejoice with him over his recent appointment as the Minister of Livestock Development. It was an engagement between the host communities and their august visitor in the month of November. The idea is to take a look at their common occupation of livestock farming with a view to opening a new chapter in modern animal husbandry.
So we believe that if we do the necessary that needs to be done in terms of the reforms as envisaged by the Mr. President, the GDP contribution from life sector will quadruple in the not too distant future. To do that, we have to invest and create the necessary conditions in the grazing reserves to attract and incentivize herders to remain there by providing all the necessary amenities that a modern animal husbandry requires.
The minister led the people into tour of various Fulani settlements for a study tour where he demonstrated what he has been practicing for a very long time.
This appointment, I hear people say, is when you say round peg in a round hole, I think it fits it perfectly. And not even that, the passion he has for the livestock industry, that shows, it's exemplified with this farm that he has set. He's been resilient, he's been persistent. He's going to come up with new innovations which he has tested in his farm, and we've seen the results.
The minister's investment in the livestock sector for more than 30 years here has turned dreams into realities, with the children of the Fulanis who once left their villages to sell Frada Nono in distant town now getting buyers at their very doorsteps. This one behind me, called Bula, has the capacity to produce 50 liters in a day.
He has been interacting with the Fulanis for so many years, and he even made an NGO. He organized an NGO for the Fulanis around this area. All their milk, they milk their cow, they will bring it here and we will sell it outside, and we credit them with their money. we know he's going to deal with these farmers and others problem. He will sort this thing out.
As the music continues to hit the air, the dancing cycles widen, calling everyone to join, including myself, a moment that speaks to my own Fulani heritage.
Elsewhere, residents of Calabar Metropolis on the 9th November 2024 will not forget in a hurry the rainstorm which occurred that fateful night that brought sorrow, rendering some people homeless and also destroyed the aesthetic outlook of parts of the city. Paul Abel is currently visiting some of the affected sites, and he'll bring us an update on this development.
As the rains recede, it comes with storm, thunder, and lightning in southern Nigeria. And the 9th of November 9th, 2024, in Calabar was a night of disaster. A move round the metropolis showed the devastation on public and private buildings, as the civil defense complex was not also spared.
ICT, admin, up to Arms Command Office, anti-vandal offices, Savicom, the gates, even the auditorium, we are all affected.
Coming to the site, I can see the enormity of the damages that have been done to the headquarters of Civil Defense and across one state. Honestly, to be able to assess the damage is just to make an understatement.
The aesthetic outlook was not spared also, including ornamental trees along Murtala Muhammad Highway, Good Shepherd Monument, school buildings, fallen electric poles, also in Calabar South, restricting movement of people even till the next day.
It was God though that helped us. We were just at the scene when everything was happening. The rain was so heavy.
The best we can do is just remedy the situation, just clean up the environs, and possibly we should start planting trees that have a deeper taproot closer to the road.
At 6 o'clock we were already on the street and cleaning up everywhere, and then walking and then restoring the city of Calabar back to its own natural green and clean.
The people are optimistic that government will take proactive measures to forestall reoccurrence of the destruction to the metropolis. In Calabar, Paul Abel, Nta News.
We will take another break now. More stories ahead. Thanks for being there. African Women Conference has conferred on eminent Africans Gender Equality Champions Award in recognition of their firm commitment to women and girls' well-being, especially the vulnerable. At an award to climax the African Women Conference Zambia in Lusaka, gender advocates amplify adoption of digital education and empowerment in realizing the African transformation agenda. Olushare Adiago captures sights and sound of the award.
The African Women Conference Zambia 2024 has been quite engaging and exhilarating. Now it's time to recognize voices that have recently clamored for the cause of the African woman.
Tonight, we celebrate the achievement of those who have made significant stride in this.
For the co-convener AWC, Dr. Jume Amerjo, and others, the continent is with policies already, but feel it's time to match words with action.
As we conclude this year's conference, let us carry forward the momentum we have built. Together, we can harness our potential, create an Africa where every woman is empowered and succeed.
The quest is to also transform Africa to the base of gender equality, and the roaring voices behind this, especially the Nigerian Television Authority, with its Director General, Saliu Abdulhamid Dambos, taking the Media Champion Award.
Every year, the NTA has been out here and he has supported us and the work of women empowerment all over the country.
The way the world is going today, we need everybody, leave no one behind. It means for concepts of this nature, projects of this nature, we all must put our best because for all our benefits. If the woman does well, it's for humanity.
I have to appreciate the organizers of this one. To think about the rural women, but we've been advised on the ways in which we can bring these products to the market through we that have the phones and internet.
I expect delegates to go back and become change agents, become igniters of more digital inclusion for women.
African Women Conference Next Generation takes the baton to organize the next edition. And it is an exciting moment for these champions who get inducted into the AWC Hall of Fame. From Lusaka in Zambia, Olusheye Adiagbo, Nta News.
12 autonomous communities in Ezza South local government area of Ebonyi State have denounced the practice of female genital mutilation in their land, owing to its inimical effects on the girl child. Fortunate also reports that the denouncement publicly done at Unweki General Hospital has made the state 75% free from the practice of female genital mutilation.
For more than 1 decade, foreign agencies in partnership with successive state administrations have identified Ebonyi State as one of the states in the country where female genital mutilation practice is endemic. Despite campaigns exposing dangers of FGM and domestication of a legal framework known as Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law, VAP, the practice still persists in parts of the state. But it seems there is a light at the end of the tunnel, as many communities, having realized the dangers inherent in the ugly practice, have in recent times declared their decision to abandon the practice. The most recent of such declarations was that of the 12 communities that make up Ezza South Council area of the state.
The Ezza South NGO of Ebonyi State have recognized the immediate and long-term negative health consequences of FGM. It is our conclusion that FGM is not and cannot be of any benefit to our people and community.
Representatives of some partners in the fight against FGM said there is no going back until all communities in the state publicly denounce the practice, which has been identified to be inimical to the girl child.
That we are conducting today, it is very symbolic. Very symbolic in the sense that about 12 communities, I understand, are declaring abandonment of FGM today.
It simply means that that women and girls will no longer experience that harm, those consequences that are attached to the practice of female genital mutilation.
Stakeholders in the health sector, community leaders, as well as traditional rulers promised to enforce the declaration in their various domains, as machineries have been put in place to monitor compliance.
FGM is not just a harmful practice. It is a violation of basic human rights, impacting the physical and mental well-being of countless girls and women across generations.
We must make sure that our women get their freedom and to have their happiness in future.
Leaders of the 12 communities were presented with certificates and signposts to mark the declaration. In Abakaliki, Fortunate Ozo, NTA News.
In Nasarawa State, the government is placing premium on the development of technical education to harness manpower for the growth of its critical sectors. Governor Abdullahi disclosed this at the first public lecture of the State Polytechnic in Lafia. Aliu Tijani was there.
Making President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope enterprise in all facets of the country's developmental fronts a success requires digital literacy. It is on this premise that the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, through its PET project, National Digital Literacy Framework, which is aimed at developing digital literacy and skills into Nigeria's formal educational system, as well as ensuring inclusive participation.
At NITDA, we designed this digital literacy for all initiative. We started with developing the National Digital Literacy Framework with an ambitious target to achieve 95% digital literacy by 2030.
The future of job will change by the year 2030. And what it means is that it will require digital skills for anyone to be able to operate in a digital economy.
Vice-Chancellor, Nasarawa State University, CAFI Professor Saadatu Hassan Liman expressed optimism that the initiative will have both academic and economic benefits.
We have flagged up the digital literacy program in collaboration with NITDA and Cisco. It is of great benefit to the university.
The world is evolving, and if you are not part of what is happening now, then that means you cannot communicate.
These giant strides by the agency through such innovations, if embraced by Nigerians, have the potential to make the citizenry move side by side with the digitally evolving world. From Kefi, Blessing Namfulani, NTA News.
I was Blessing Damfulani there, not Aliu Tijani on that report. And one of the biggest hurdles for students trying to access tertiary education in Nigeria is funding, while some are able to provide for themselves. Many are juggling the stress of tuition fees and daily expenses. Now that's where the Nigerian Education Loans Fund steps in, offering the crucial needed support to ease students' burden. In the special report, Vivian Ezeadife takes a look at how the fund works and how it has benefited some students so far.
In Nigeria, going to university isn't just about making the grades, it's about overcoming serious financial hurdles. Many students juggle classes with part-time jobs, leaning on family or friends for help. Despite their best efforts, some still watch their dreams fade due to lack of money. But in 2024, President Tinubu signed a student loans bill into law, giving a much-needed boost to students and their families.
And had the vision that regardless of this economic hardship that we're facing in this country, this was always going to come because of the lack of education that our people have been deprived of, or the education, should I say, that our people have been deprived of.
The new loan scheme is being hailed as a game changer. It's designed to ease the financial burden and make sure students don't have to give up on their education just because of money. Take the University of Ibadan, for example. It's one of the schools benefiting from this scheme.
Recently, the National Educational Loan Fund released a sum of about 201 million naira to the University of Ibadan. And that's only catered for about 1,370 students. You know, initially there is this apathy by students to apply for the loan.
Parents are feeling the relief too, with tuition fees no longer being such a heavy load.
We are very much grateful about it, and we hope it will help them, inshallah, to see that they have really done their best.
And now that you have got this assistance from the federal government, I advise you to make sure that you use the opportunities available to you and study very hard, because if your parents cannot do it, here is another factor that the federal government has decided to help you.
However, the real excitement is among the students. Although many haven't accessed the funds yet, there is a real buzz on campuses like the University of Maiduguri.
Without this assistance,
I don't think we can continue with our academic career.
I really want to thank the government for initiating this student loan into the current situation we're facing in right now as students. Presently, I haven't gotten mine yet. I think mine should be processing, or they said they are still processing ours.
And the application process is pretty straightforward. A few clicks on the website and students can get the support they need.
So how is the process?
The process is simple. If you go to the website nelfund.gov.ng, then you put in your name, your school, you choose your school, then you put in your matric number. So then after it brings out your details, then you proceed to put in your other details, your JAM number, your JAM registration number, sorry. And after JAM registration number, to take you to where you put your BVN and your account number. After verifying your BVN with your name, then you go and apply for the loan.
And it's not just about giving out loans. It's about building skills that help students pay back what they owe in the future. At the heart of it all, this loan scheme is more than financial aid. It's a lifeline. It turns aspiration into achievement, making sure higher education is within reach for all, no matter their financial background. In Abuja, Vivian Izadifi.
The electoral process in Nigeria has seen significant strides with new innovations and greater transparency. And ahead of the forthcoming Ondo governorship election, a symposium has held in Abuja to deliberate on areas of improvements with a view to further strengthening how elections are conducted, especially going forward into the 2027 general elections. Dennis Adegunloye reports.
Since Nigeria's return to democratic rule in 1999, the country has had several elections from 2003 to 2023, with the off-cycle elections also coming into play. In recent years, there have been significant efforts to address various impediments to smooth electoral processes, including the introduction of biometric voting systems and the deployment of international observers to monitor the electoral process. At this symposium, organized by the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, and as part of its Deepening Democracy series, attention is focusing on the strengthening of institutions, in this case, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), and the need for it to be independent in the truest sense of the word.
We say that you must have a system of electoral management that is clear, transparent, where results can be determined and the clarity of those results are established so that everybody knows who has won.
Deliberations also interrogated issues surrounding how systems cannot operate in a vacuum, but rather are most effective when the right people are at the helm of affairs.
Dialectical relationship between individuals and institutions. And when we have this interconnection, they strengthen each other, they rub off on each other. That's why sometimes we have very strong, determined individuals being able to change institutions.
How do we conceive power in such a way that the man who exercises and wields power wields it in the public, in the public interest?
If you go to collect money at a POS machine, you get a receipt, true of us. That printer becomes your ballot paper. You have that ballot paper stick into the ballot box. After the election is over, the polling is over, we tally both the electronic and the paper, the ballots. When it agrees, you send the one electronically.
If our judges decide to wear the garb of judicial activism, I believe they will be bold enough to dispense justice and not judgment.
A multi-stakeholder electoral board, and that should be it should be the responsibility of that board to first of all at least primarily nominate or select and only recommend what you have selected to the presidency to assent to.
We need again to focus a lot more on the political parties and their capacity, willingness to comply with the rules.
A national action plan is expected to be formulated with a view to full implementation to foster greater public confidence in the electoral process going forward. Dennis Adegunloye, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 live on Nta News24. Here's a quick look at our major stories. Joint Arab-Islamic Summit. Nigeria seeks diplomatic end to Israel-Palestinian crisis.
Whatever the reasons are, he thinks that both countries need to de-escalate. They must come back to the negotiating table so that at least for the, let's have some peaceful resolution.
Nigeria reaffirms commitment to digital trade protocol. Power cuts looms as vandal pulled down Lokoja Gwagwalada transmission line 1.
This is Nta News24.
State Governor Diediri has described the flood situation in Biseni community in local government council area of the state as pathetic, as hundreds of families are now displaced. The governor, who visited the community to see the level of the flood and its impact on the people, also assures that the state government will secure higher ground to build shelters as a way of ameliorating their suffering. Timinipri Ohia reports on this.
Bayelsa State is made up of 13 communities, and oftentimes communities there are always the first ports of call and flood, and one of the worst hits every year. This time around, as the flood beckons, the main access road has also been overtaken by the rising waters, leaving the creeks as the only source of access to the communities. Governor Doyediri, alongside his entourage, journeys through the Taylor Creek to have a first-hand information on the impact of the 2024 flood on the agrarian communities of Biseni clan.
We thank God that we have not heard about death of anybody from this community. And so when we assessed the flood in the state, so far Biseni is the most impacted across the state.
Some people's house, like Thatch House, failed due to this water disaster.
Those areas close to the river, most of those areas are also impacted. But we want to appreciate the government for, through the Agency for Flood and Erosion Control, a lot of canals were opened up. So this year in Agua, the state capital is not as impacted as it was in 2022. So we want to appreciate the government.
Highlight of the governor's visit to the flood-affected Biseni communities was the donation of 100 bags of rice and other relief materials to be distributed to the flood victims. In Yenogwa, Timinipri Ohia, NTA News.
Zamfara State Command of the Federal Road Safety Corps says active participation of passengers in traffic management will prevent accidents and promote a culture of safety in Nigeria as the command launches the 2024 Ember Months Awareness Campaign with a town hall meeting in Gusau, the state capital. Haliru Mohammed reports from that area.
The town hall meeting, which attracted various stakeholders, focused on sensitizing the general public, particularly passengers, on their rules in ensuring road safety. The campaign, with the theme "Speak Up Against Dangerous Driving, Crashes Kill More Passengers Than Drivers," featured presentations by various experts who maintain that all hands must be on deck to reduce road crashes.
Count the number of deaths from malaria, cholera, and many other illnesses. There cannot be an annual total of the deaths arising from road traffic accidents.
Most of our people
are familiar of taking drugs without the medical attention.
The State Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure, who was represented, described road safety as a collective responsibility. The Sector Commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Tijani Ilyasu, noted that the campaign is aimed at empowering passengers on their responsibility in preventing accidents.
So this year we change it. We now decide, let us talk to the passengers, because we discover that if a driver dies, before one driver dies, at least 5, 6, 7 passengers will die along with the driver. That is why we have the theme of this year. It's more passengers die in a crash than a driver.
Various stakeholders who delivered goodwill messages also emphasized the importance of passengers' involvement in road safety and review of traffic laws to promote safe driving practices and reduce accidents. In Gusau, Halil Muhammad, NTA News.
Let's bring you development with COP29 beginning in Baku, Albania, with countries around the world meeting to address the rampant climate change crisis, holding each other to account and examining the role they are playing to limit global warming. Charles Alpha reports that without the Conference of Parties meeting regularly to devise ways to fight climate change, humanity reports that would be headed towards 5 degrees of global warming, with energy bills going up even the more. Executive Secretary of the UN Climate, Simon Still, in his opening remarks, believe countries will be economically uncompetitive, with further global instability costing prestigious or precious lives if nations don't act fast. Charles Alpha also reports that the focus in Baku will be on getting the international carbon markets up and running by finalizing Article 6, move forward on mitigation, while nations must not let keeping temperatures well below 1.5 degrees slip out of each. Other areas will be on clean energy and infrastructure investment, as well as the shift to clean energy and climate resilience. Countries will look at adaptation indicators to increase resilience and improve new mechanisms for financial and technical support on loss and damage. And to support countries in creating and communicating this, the UNFCCC will launch a climate plan campaign to mobilize action from all key players and align with the efforts of the United Nations. We'll bring you development from the summit there. The Director General, Nigerian Television Authority, Saliu Abdul Hamid Dembo, says all members of the organization are deeply saddened by the loss of Joy Osiago, a cherished former colleague, respected reporter and accomplished newscaster. In a condolence message to the family of the deceased, the Director General notes that Joy embodied the spirit of journalism with her unwavering dedication, integrity and passion. He says she brought to her role not only an exceptional talent for storytelling, but also a deep sense of responsibility to the truth, noting that throughout her career, Joy's professionalism and commitment set a high standard, inspiring both her colleagues and viewers alike with her voice, a trusted source of news. Her presence, a steady guide during pivotal moments in the country's history, she remains etched in the foundation of NTA's mission, the DG says. He extends heartfelt condolences to her family, friends, and all who had the honor to walk alongside her, praying that her soul rest in peace, her family, and comforting rest in peace and comfort in knowing the profound impact she had on the field of journalism and the lives of countless Nigerians. Now let's bring you development on sports.
Mertens. Topu istedi Torreira. Aldı şimdi Torreira. Baktı içeriye. Ortayı yaptı. Osimhen!
Victor Osimhen scored a brace for Galatasaray in their thrilling 3-2 victory over Samsunspor at the Rams Park on Sunday. Osimhen nodded home superbly from Lucas Torreira's cross after 3 minutes. The visitors fought back with Olivier Ncham netting the equaliser from the spot on 55 minutes. Osimhen, however, scored his second of the day 5 minutes later to hand Galatasaray the lead for the second time in the game. The powerful striker has now scored 8 goals and registered 4 assists in 9 appearances for Okan Buruk's side.
Sara, aradan Yunus'a iyi bir top geldi. Yunus çevirdi ortaya doğru, Okan elinden kaçırdı Osimhen. Cezayı kesti bir kez daha. Victor Osimhen.
In tennis, world number 1 Yannick Sinner brushed past Alexander Dumoulin after Taylor Fritz defeated irate Daniil Medvedev on the opening day of the ATP Finals. Sinner, playing on home soil in Turin, Italy, won 6-3, 6-4 to extend his perfect record against the Australian 7th seed. Earlier, American Fritz recorded his 50th win of the year by beating Medvedev 6-4, 6-3 as the group stage of the season-ending tournament got underway.
Gioco partita incontro. Sinner, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4.
Daniel Aderi there with sports updates, and that concludes the news at this time. Many thanks for watching. I'll be back with the news update. I'm Comfort Amodu.